one of the things that's, my purpose in taking this job was to demonstrate that you can do something else in addition to a career in hospitality. But you need to be ambitious and all in, and then you might achieve your goal, or the alternative is you might not make it. But I'm always reminding myself back to that I promised myself if I was going to do this, I had to do it in a way that I can be a positive role model in that sense.
Charlotte, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Absolutely delighted to have you. For me, especially, I was saying to everybody earlier, it's such a full circle moment, because I think the first time I met you was when I was working at the Artesian. I think it was on the day you got married.
Oh, wow, yes.
And you came as a guest.
We worked together, but you're right.
And then you however long later, 6 months or a year later, ended up coming and working. And for me, it was so amazing to have you, to be able to kind of work with you, even though different departments, because you were such a big supporter of what we did in the bar, championing women within hospitality. And you came in, it was so refreshing. And it was just this breath of fresh air that I think changed my sort of trajectory in seeing how I could grow in hotels. And seeing you now at the Corinthia is amazing. And it must have been such a journey. I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey from the Langham to the Corinthia, to where you are now as general manager of the hotel.
Oh, thank you, Anna. You've actually reminded me of that. I'd sort of forgotten, to be honest, which is maybe not such a good thing. I forgot that I spent my wedding night in Artesian, but we did.
Yeah.
And you were incredibly generous with your hospitality that evening, because I can remember coming to the door and we didn't have a reservation and that bar was full, and you actually sat us on the best table in that whole bar.
I remember the exact table. Yeah, I remember the exact table.
We called it the love seats. And it became very special, because I remember as well when we were filming something for television, sitting on that same table talking about the fact we were expecting our first little girl.
Yeah.
So no, lots of fond memories of things that we did together there. So no, lovely. And I think that time at the Langham was wonderful, because we worked for a leader who really encouraged you to sort of be your authentic self.
Yep.
And it was probably one of the first roles where I truly felt I could show up as me, and that could be me in jeans at the colleague entrance and sort of and get changed, or it could be me around the hotel with my wife. It could be me just expressing myself in a meeting. So it was a place where you could really grow as the person that you were. And then after being there for a little while, I got the opportunity to come to Corinthia. And there'd been some changes, and it goes to show sometimes that there'd been some leadership changes at the time, and it was just one of those conversations that came at a time where maybe things didn't feel quite as stable. And that was enough really to sort of have my head turned to something else. And I came here. I've been here almost coming up for 4 years now.
Wow.
3.5 years as sales and marketing director, and then I was given the opportunity to move into this role as general manager 7 or so months ago. Yeah, which is great, really, really great.
And what's it now, obviously being in charge of such an incredible hotel in London, which really is one of the iconic and leading hotels, not just in London but as a brand, being in charge of such a big hotel and big team. How do you build your team? Because you've always had such a strong team. How do you sort of build that? What do you look for?
I think, really, really interesting. So, somebody said to me right at the beginning, work out who it is that's going to hurt if they tell you that they're leaving to go somewhere else. And so there was an element of sort of, having that sense of who ultimately, if they tell you that they're resigning, where's that going to be painful, and where are those people going to be hard to replace? And sometimes that's not always because they're necessarily the best people at the job, but maybe they're people who you trust, people who you can confide in, people who you feel see things culturally the same way that you do. Maybe people who challenge you in a certain way because they ask those irritating questions that you sort of wish somebody wouldn't always, or because they have a completely different skill set to the one that you do. So I think for me, it was sort of, first of all, maybe understanding a little bit about who was it going to hurt. It was also, being honest, identifying who did I not think was maybe going to share that same sort of journey and vision. Because at the heart for me, I sort of thought, you know, I really want to build an environment which is empowering, and where people feel that they can, because I'd recognised how important that was to me at the Langham, an environment where people thought they could be themselves and that would be embraced and respected and appreciated. And just somewhere where we could collectively come together with a shared goal of what we wanted to achieve together and a shared sort of purpose and have some fun trying to achieve it together.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's really fascinating to hear you share that, because when you said who are those people that you would be sad if they left, and it's this really, it's a lovely personal way, because I think when people think about 5-star luxury and hotels, they think about structure and discipline and brand standards, and obviously all of those things are really critical, but the people are often the ones that make and break the experience for guests and the team alike. So it's really lovely to hear you speak in that way, because it shows that everybody is seen as part of the team that deliver the final experience to everyone, which is really important, isn't it? I would love to ask you, and it's so, this full circle moment, what a privilege to be part of that as well. But
honestly,
clearly through your journey, you have inspired people who have worked with you, and it's lovely to share this with you both. But is there someone in particular in your journey, and it might be a person or a time or an experience that has really helped shape your style of leadership and also your approach to hospitality?
Actually, I had. I'm going to share with you. There was a gentleman who I worked with in Dubai. So I worked for about 4.5 years out in Dubai, at a resort out there that was Le Méridien. It was a Le Méridien hotel, and then we were opening a Westin property as part of the same complex.
Okay.
And it was the first, I moved out there as Director of Leisure Sales, which was a total fluke that I got this job, because I had no sales experience. I was in marketing and I just managed to sell myself for this position. And honestly, I had no idea what anybody was talking to me about for the first few months that I was there. And whilst I was there, I was lucky enough to get my first sort of promotion to that Director of Sales and Marketing job. And there was a gentleman who I've been speaking to. We had a really popular bar called Barasti Bar. It was without doubt the busiest bar in the whole of Dubai, and he was one of the people who worked in the bar. He was a waiter, and I remember him saying that he really wanted to get an opportunity to move into sales and to be a sales coordinator. And Dubai at the time was that, there was a real hierarchy. Certainly colleagues who were working as, front of house sort of waiting staff were not necessarily the same people who would move into administrative roles within sales and marketing. And long story short, he ended up that we gave him this opportunity, and he did move to become a sales coordinator. And he was so grateful for this opportunity to have that move. And I just remember this sort of sense of gratitude and how hard he worked and how he really wanted to demonstrate that we'd made the right decision by doing that for him. And he was amazing. And some of the things that he used to offer to do, I used to be like, no, you really don't have to go and start my car half an hour before an appointment because it's roasting hot outside to put the air conditioning on. That's above and beyond. But he was so eager to please and to do a good job. And then he was promoted to a sales executive, and that meant that he earned, and that must be how much it meant, because I can remember his salary triggered onto an amount that meant he was able to get his first loan from the bank. He'd reached that sort of minimum threshold, which meant he could buy his first car. And he bought this second-hand Toyota Corolla. He came to work one day, and you would have thought he'd bought a palace. He was so excited that he came running in, and he said, please, can I show you my car?
Yeah.
And so we went out, and I looked at this car, and sat in the car, and wasn't this car amazing? And it was wonderful.
Yeah.
But he, I sort of occasionally, I go on to look, we're not in touch, but occasionally I'll go on to LinkedIn and see where he is. And he's Director of Sales and Marketing now of a property in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And I just think his sense of sort of gratitude and giving somebody the opportunity to progress themselves and actually, you know, believing in somebody, giving somebody a chance, you know, for every, sometimes it doesn't work out, and that hurts when you think, oh, do you know, I really wanted this to work because I wanted to prove to some of the cynics that actually sometimes it can work, and it didn't. But I think having the sort of confidence and courage to know that actually maybe 8 times out of 10 it might not, but 2 times out of 10 it might. And those moments are really special. Those are the ones you hold on to. So I'd say Holly.
I think that drives...
What a moment.
No, I think that's what drives hospitality forward. And I think this is about, you know, even just as an example, the theme for International Women's Day this year is Give to Gain. And I think that can resonate with everyone, not just women, but I think it's about we all have something that we can give and we all have something that we can gain. And I think that's so important, and to move this industry forward. You spoke earlier about, you know, having that sort of vision for, you know, what you want to do here, but also luxury hospitality. Can you share any insights into what you think might be the future of hospitality, or how it relates to, and how it relates to what you want to do here? What's your vision?
I mean, sort of stepping into this role, one thing that I've really been struck by is certainly in the early days, and just to share this with you sort of candidly, is that everybody said to me, oh, you know, what's your strategy, or what's your vision, or what's your... And to begin with, it was funny, I sort of described it as, I thought, God, my whole career, I feel like I've had such a strong opinion about everything. I was always the one that was sort of, oh, you know, I had a view on something. And it's funny that actually once you get the job where you can be the person who has it, I remember there was the sort of first early days, I thought, God, it feels a bit like writer's block. It's like my mind's gone blank as to what do I want these things to be in some way. So just sharing that as a little insight in some way. But I think now once you're in the role and you start to get a sort of sense for things, I think everybody speaks about, you know, AI and the benefits of AI on the industry, and also sort of some of the risks. But I think we're so lucky that we work in an industry that's driven by people and by human experience. And ultimately that can never be replaced by AI. And so I think the future is really to sort of double down, and to use that terminology, but almost to double down on the human connection, and actually for us all to create those moments that we come away from and we remember from a hospitality experience are completely about the way somebody's made us feel. That's what years down the line we'll speak about, beyond I might remember it was a great coffee today, but I probably won't remember that in a year's time. But the person who served me it, who made me feel amazing, who asked me about my day, who told me I looked nice, I will remember.
And how much of that, because this is what, as we come through these podcasts and we have these discussions, there is an element of hospitality magic that some people naturally have, and some elements that are trained in and become part of training programs for brand standards and whatnot. But how do you teach people to, or empower them to be confident to go that extra mile, to you know, take a step to make sure the experience is great?
I think right at the beginning, it's the recruitment of people, like recruit on attitude, not on necessarily technical expertise. I think because ultimately the person, what's at the core, does make a difference. But then I think it's like constantly reminding people that, you know, at the end of the day, you can't say to everybody, I want you to be empowered, but then criticise a decision that's made when somebody's taken a decision that maybe you think, well, that was questionable, but ultimately you have to back it up and support it, because, you know, you're trying to drive a culture of empowerment. So are the behaviours that we are describing, are we then demonstrating those every day? I think as well, you know, practically we implemented something here which we called thoughtful magical touches, and we took it. I mean, it's a concept that existed that Ritz-Carlton had brought out many years before, but we said, just to demonstrate at the beginning this culture of empowerment, we created a fund of £200 for any interaction. So as a colleague, let's say you have a conversation with somebody, you hear that they say they'd love to go and see Cabaret over at the Kit Kat Club, and they're not doing anything that night. Theoretically, somebody can go, they can get from front office, they can get £200, they can go and buy a ticket and come back, so long as they've got a receipt, and they could gift that ticket to the person and say, I heard you said you wanted to go to Cabaret, here's a ticket. There's no questions asked about what you spent the money on, so long as there's a receipt to go with it. And we assume that hopefully people are going to make a good choice about what to spend the money on.
I love that.
But it was a way in which we could demonstrate to the colleagues, you're empowered, you can go, bring a receipt, you don't have to ask anybody for permission. You've just got to show the initiative to have the conversation and go and do it.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised, by the way, because of course, Director of Finance was worried that the bill was going to be hundreds of thousands of pounds. And it just goes to show, actually, you really have to encourage people to go and spend the money and do it. It's not something that people instinctively think to do.
Do you think that's the new wave of luxury? Because obviously luxury used to be all be about the product. And I'm sure you've been to so many talks about the future of luxury and what that means. So those small touches, is there anything else that you've seen about that way, like looking, what people are looking for in the luxury world?
Oh, good question. No, but I think you're absolutely right about product. You know, and I think people's different appreciation of sort of luxury. It used to be, you know, that I think luxury meant caviar and it meant truffle and you know and all of those, and sort of how was something gold, you know, it was all of those sort of somewhat ostentatious type of things, and I do think it's now much more in the same way. Say for example, like wellbeing. At one point, wellbeing was all about, you know, how technology or something was going to improve, and now it's actually about breath work and it's about cold water, you know, contrast therapy, and it's we've actually gone much in many aspects of our life much more towards more
like primal things.
Exactly. And that's something we're doing here in the spa. We're trying to define what we're calling primal luxury, which is actually well-being using things that are actually quite primal. So ingredients, breath work, contrast therapies, heat experiences, circadian rhythms, things that are more rooted in grounding rather than sort of other things that I think perhaps luxury was. Going back to the roots.
I think Corinthia has always been really led the way on spas, I think. And I think for anyone sort of that hasn't been to the Corinthia, you mentioned the spa, but we'd love to kind of understand, like, what are your, when you walk through the hotel, obviously you see things that nobody else sees. What are your favourite areas of the hotel? And, you know, what do you drink? Okay, I always ask this. What do you drink when you go to the bar? So when you walk through the hotel in the morning, what are the spaces? What are you looking for in all the different spaces?
I mean, you're really dull. Your first thing, and for me, my first thing always goes to like cleanliness. You know, you can't help but walk into a space, and you know, there's nothing left where it shouldn't be. The cushions plumped, or you know, just. I think if you're deliberately walking around with a view to look at things, then of course it's smell, the level of sound. You know, is the music at the right level? Is the pianist playing well, or are they playing too heavily? Because you know, so there are certain things that you sort of think. But if, in general, if I just sort of call in or walk into a space, it's often, are people being served? Do they have an empty table? Are they being looked after? Is it, you know, is there anything out of place, not where it should be? But for me, I would say a little bit broader, it's energy. For me, you know, and that's something that I have become very conscious of in the hotel, is the energy that people are feeling in a space. So when you walk into Corinthia, we have two entrances, which sometimes can confuse people, but we have two entrances, one on Northumberland and one on Whitehall. And when you come in, there's the Crystal Moon Lounge, which is the main area where we serve afternoon tea, coffees and things in the morning. And there's a beautiful crystal chandelier, 1001 Baccarat crystal chandelier in the centre. During the day, that space is often full of people having afternoon tea, meeting, coffees, a real sort of hub of the hotel. But often, sort of 7 o'clock, 6:30, once the afternoon tea service is finished, then everybody moves off into different areas. They'll go into one of the bars, the restaurants, they'll maybe go up to the rooms, and that space can actually be quite empty. And that is something that I really wanted to work on, because this hotel to me has got a fantastic energy. But if you were to arrive at that time of the evening, you might think, oh, where is everybody? I don't see anyone.
Sure.
So I find myself drawn to things like that.
Yeah. I love that, all about the energy. And then you've got you've just opened a new restaurant.
Yes, yeah.
That's got amazing press. Can you tell us a little bit about the restaurant and the concept of that as well? Because I'm sure everybody would love to know.
Oh, thank you. So it is Mezzogiorno. It's with a chef called Francesco Mazzei, who's had restaurants in London before, but had a period of a little bit of a break, and then had actually partnered with us on one of our hotels in Malta.
Okay, amazing.
So to be our chef partner for the villa, the Palace Hotel in Malta. And then, and we were really looking for a new concept, because we had this beautiful space in the hotel that was previously Northall, really, really beautiful restaurant space. But beyond breakfast, we just didn't really feel that it was attracting a great number of guests, to be honest with you, over lunch and dinner. So, so we decided to partner with Francesco. I mean, his food is amazing.
It looks insane.
It is really, really good. I think I've put on about 5 kilos since we partnered with him, and I'm not. You step over the threshold into that restaurant, and somebody is putting some risotto, pasta, focaccia, something in your hands to eat.
Delicious.
So it is really fabulous. But we worked with the designer Aphrodite. His food is all about sort of Calabrian, south of Italy. It's all about sort of, you know, his mama's cooking, and this like really wonderful food, great ingredients, great flavours, like beautifully cooked. So the idea is you sort of come through the kitchen, where you have that sense of, again, energy, vibrancy, something's going on, there's a bit of noise, the kitchen, the pans are sort of clinking, and there's a chef's table, you see produce, and then you go through into the dining room. So, and it's so far, it's doing really well.
I've seen, honestly, it's been all on like social media and everything. And I think the great thing about Corinthia is you've got obviously Velvet Bar, which is a staple. What do you drink when you go to Velvet Bar?
Oh, I'm dreadful. I'm like
I
know exactly what I'm going to say. I'm like the worst. I'm exactly what I shouldn't be in this job. I drink the same drink, I eat the same food.
Do you?
Which is really bad. Everybody tells me I need to try a different dish every time I go.
No, but we've tried.
And and I have tried with the cocktails, but I'm a champagne drinker. So champagne.
But it's a great bar, and I think you can almost just stay in the Corinthia and just not go anywhere. You've got the spa, you've got obviously all the different food and beverage outlets and everything. So
I'm dreadful though. Every time I go to Velvet Bar, the team try and persuade me with some wonderful new cocktail that they spent hours preparing, and then I do occasionally, but most of the time I'll say, sounds amazing, but have a glass of champagne.
On that line of thought, we were talking about, I mean, checking in when you come to a beautiful hotel. It's beautiful to be in those restaurant spaces and at the bar, but it's also luxurious to order in your room as well, which we were discussing.
I love inventory.
May we ask you, if you were checking in and you're in a gorgeous hotel suite, what are you ordering on your room service?
Oh, club sandwich.
Club sandwich.
Club sandwich.
Okay.
Always a club sandwich. Love a carb.
I think you could tell a lot by a club sandwich, a lot about a hotel by a club sandwich.
Yeah, but no mayonnaise.
Okay.
No, I don't like mayonnaise, but I love a club sandwich. Crispy bacon.
Yes.
You know, I'm so ideally sourdough.
Okay, noted.
Yeah.
And beverage? Is this more champagne?
No. The good news is sparkling water.
There we go.
Okay.
Belu sparkling water.
Exactly.
So obviously, running a place like this, as general manager, obviously huge responsibility. I can just only imagine what your diary is like day to day. How do you manage not only all of that, but obviously family, sort of personal life as well? What do you do, or what brings you that sort of peace and that calmness that I think we all need sometimes, but so easy to forget about it, whether it's a person or a place? What brings you that sort of peace?
I mean, family, 100%. We've got, my wife and I have got 3 beautiful little girls. So
gorgeous.
Florence, Daphne and Edie. So 3, they're 5, 3 and just turned 1. And genuinely time with them. I mean, you cannot be on your phone, because invariably, if you hold your phone, one of them wants to have your phone. then I get panicked, because I can see they've gone into my contacts and they're about to ring the CEO or something. So you, and also I really try hard that I don't want them to feel like I am permanently glued to my phone when I'm with them. I don't think that's sort of role modelling great behaviour either for them. So one, it's a choice where I try really hard to not have it, but also practically it's also not feasible. So I find just being with them, actually, you know, the innocence of children, you know, they see things very, very on the surface of, you know, they say what they see, and so for me, being with them brings me genuine joy and total distraction from you know, the other side of life. So,
do you think it's important to, I mean, everyone talks about balance or finding, it's different for everybody, but what advice could you give people that, you know, want to kind of forge this incredible career in hospitality like you have done, but how can they also, I guess, get that equilibrium? Do you have any advice on managing that?
I think two things come to mind for me. One is that I decided a while ago, like, to approach balance, because people talk a lot about work-life balance, and the challenge is, if you think about work-life balance over a small period of time, it's very hard. So if you talk about it over a day or over a week, then maybe your day isn't, you know, your week isn't particularly balanced. It'll focus on one thing more than another. But if you think about it in bigger chunks of time, so, you know, when our third daughter was born, for example, you know, my focus was more on family than it was on work. So my balance shifted. When I got this job, my focus was more on work than it was on family. But as you move through time, different things have to be a priority at a different time. So over a decade, maybe I got good work-life balance, but maybe over 6 months, I didn't necessarily.
I love that.
I think helping to frame it in that sense. And then I think for me, one of the things, you know, I mean, speaking about purpose, because I know that's something that's important to this conversation. One of the things that's, you know, my purpose in taking this job was to demonstrate that you can do something else in addition to a career in hospitality. Now that for me happens to be, I want to be a present parent at home. I want to be involved in the upbringing of our children and to enjoy them through as they grow up. But for other people, that might be something different. It might be caring for an elderly parent, or it might be a sport or something, you know, they want to learn a language, whatever that may be. I think there's this a thought that in hospitality, you're either all in and you will be successful, but you need to be ambitious and all in, and then you might achieve your goal, or the alternative is you might not make it. And I sort of really feel that, you know, I'm quite early in, and I said to somebody yesterday, you know, at the end of the day, my words mean nothing if I'm not successful. So I have to work really hard to be successful, so that my words can have some sort of gravitas and some meaning. But that is, I'm always reminding myself back to that I promised myself if I was going to do this, I had to do it in a way that I can be a positive role model in that sense.
I mean, it's so insightful. And I know, you know, as we were kind of B-rolling, we were talking about this sort of tendency, as you said, in our industry to be, you're running at 1,000 miles an hour at all times of the day. And it's difficult to decide at what point you slow down, or if you do. And you're right about priorities shifting, but it's really, it's actually really reassuring to hear that the success is also what's happening at home and being present in family. It's not just what's happening professionally. And from a purpose point of view through these conversations, that the win is in your personal life, not just in the professional realm.
Totally.
Talking
spot on
about purpose, I think so many people sort of struggle to find their purpose or what they want to do. Like I remember kind of, even at the Langham, I was just like, what do I want to do? And I didn't know. And then I could have found it. How can you find your purpose? You know, for people sort of listening, not really sure what they want to do. Do you have any sort of advice about trying to get to that point, or is it an evolution, or obviously it changes over time? But it'd be great to get your insight into how that was for you, trying to find your purpose.
I think I also think that sometimes through more recently, and maybe social media and sort of that people speak about it as something that almost it then makes you worry if you don't feel like you have it. It's like, oh my goodness, everybody's talking about purpose, and they have a purpose and how they found their purpose. And if I don't, it's a little bit like me sharing at the beginning when everybody was asking me about, well, what's your strategy and what's your vision? And I'm thinking, oh God, and all of a sudden there's this self-reflection on, well, what does that mean about me that I don't have that, or I don't know that at this point? And I think it's sometimes just being kind to yourself to think it's okay to be on a journey to find whatever that is. And I might also never find it. So I think sort of giving yourself that grace in a sense is helpful, because it helps to create clarity. But I also think it's just what coming back to that energy, what gives you energy?
Yeah.
Like where do you find yourself naturally
gravitating
towards?
Yeah,
What feels more comfortable?
The bar.
Yeah. Look at that.
The kitchen. So you'll find me after that.
Yeah.
You do a lot of work with Gold Scholarship and helping mentoring, and love to hear more about that, but also why it's so important to invest in the next generation.
I mean, I think partly because hospitality, it's become harder to find great people wanting to come into a career in hospitality. It's had a lot of press around hours, all of the things that we've spoken around, pay and so, and ultimately with some of the things that's happened in the country over the last few years, finding great people is difficult. So any initiative which supports people coming into the business, gets people excited about the industry, and for them to be able to see it's a career, I think is a positive. And especially coming back to that sort of like hospitality, the way in which you can make somebody feel through the experience, I think, again, initiatives which encourage that, I think are just really, really positive.
I love that. Are there any standout experiences for you that you've had where you've really felt the magic of hospitality? Is there a place that you visit, or, is there something you can share with us?
Well, as I was saying that, I was thinking, and it's not a shameless plug for Corinthia Afternoon Tea, but not long after,
plug away.
But not long after I started the job, I thought it was quite a long time since I'd had afternoon tea here, and so I thought, it's a very popular place to come for afternoon tea. We have a beautiful afternoon tea, and I thought, I should probably have it again and experience it again and see if it was. So I decided to bring Florence, who's 5, and the two of us came for afternoon tea one weekend. And she got all dressed up, and she said, I hope that you're going to wear a nice dress too, Mama. And I thought, goodness, because I thought I better put on something nice. So we both got dressed up. We came out, and she said, I feel like and as we stepped out of the house to get the train, she said, I feel like we're best friends. And I said,
sweet.
oh no, and she was really sweet. And I said, oh no, it's a bit like we're best friends today as they're coming and doing this. And she's only 5, but we sat in the Crystal Moon Lounge, and it was watching, again, this is what I say, sometimes seeing things through the eyes of children.
Yeah.
She was mesmerised. The chandelier, the cups, holding the china, the way that her hot chocolate was poured from a height into the cup. She tried every sandwich. She tried the smoked salmon. She tried the egg mayonnaise and truffle. She tried it all, the cakes. And I was asking her, what can you taste? What can you, what can you tell the difference between this and this? Using the little forks, the way they place the napkin over her. I said to the team on the Monday afterwards, I said, you created something for us that I will remember long after my time in this hotel. We spoke. She was, and I actually was really quite surprised. I thought for a 5-year-old, she was totally engaged in the experience at a level which I thought was much older than her years. We had a really special time. So I think, those are the magical moments of sort of hospitality, but it can also be, we've got a wonderful sort of like local pub near where we live. and the gentleman, Andy, who looks after us, he always remembers the name of the children. He always asks how they are. And do you know what? And that means a lot to me as well. So it doesn't always have to be luxury and 5-star. It can be something at a very different level. But has somebody made the effort to connect with you in some way? And that is where the magic happens, I think.
I love that. Do you know what? You'll probably pass it every day. You know, outside Embankment Station, there's that coffee place, Blues and Royals. And they've been there since I started at the Savoy in 2010, but it was just a fruit stand. And over the years, they've grown and developed this like coffee place. It's thriving now. But the two guys there, they're probably, if I'm like, anyone's like hospitality, I'm like, go and see those guys. They're so warm, so friendly. They're fun, they're cheeky, they're asking you. They're like, how's your dating life? I'm like, it's still terrible. Let's stop asking. But what they do, they remember, and they're so engaging. Actually, last time I saw them was in the Corinthia. And they're just so wonderful. But like you said, that energy, and they just bring that connection and just kind of make you feel human. And I think you just never know the impact. Even when I've been having like bad days or something, you see them, they make you smile. And I think that's the impact that you certainly have on people. I think we can all have on people through what we do. And maybe this is our purpose, so that the purpose of being in this industry as well.
I'm with you on that. Oh, do you know, it's one of the reasons why, by the way, I think Starbucks, right back at the time when they used to take, and they first came up with the idea to take a name that went onto a cup. Yeah. And because you no longer became somebody who was drinking an Americano, you became Charlotte.
Yeah.
And
genius.
And it was totally genius. Yeah. And it's just a moment of connection where you feel seen as a person, not as a number or it's just a body. So I think it's those make the difference for sure.
So special. It really is. Hospitality feels. It's so great to chat about it, isn't it? So, Charlotte, can we ask, it's a big team here, and when you're leading your team and you do your briefings and you engage with people, are there a couple of things that you like to rev them up with for the day, or when you ground your team, how do you send them out, to interact with the guests? Are there a couple of
I sometimes say I'm a bit like Ricky Gervais out of the office.
No, I love that.
No, honestly, I come out
unexpected, but I'm very excited about this.
No, just because I think sometimes if I try too hard with it, which occasionally you do, I think, oh no, that was really, really bad. So generally, I'd say if you were to ask the team, is there one thing Charlotte does? I'm a big fan of I love podcasts. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the High Performance podcast, and I listen to that. And so sometimes I'll say, I heard X on this, and it resonated with me, and maybe you'd like that. And so sometimes it's sort of a thought I would leave people with. Or an interaction, like how I came back and shared on that Monday. I said how you made me feel in that moment. So sometimes it's something like that, but equally, I'm a firm believer in the fact, a little bit like sport, because I love sport, a little bit like sport, people train to peak for an Olympics. They don't go for 4 years at the top of their performance. So the same with colleagues, not every day everybody is coming in fired up, ready to have the most amazing day of their career. Yeah. And it's about understanding that it's also okay that today's an off day. I just want to be a bit quieter. I just want to be a bit, and they don't need me in their face doing my Ricky Gervais. telling them that today's the best day of their life. Yeah. So, sometimes less is more. Yeah. Despite my best intentions.
And I think it's like you said, it's just not every day is going to be a good day. But, if I'm at like a 20% sort of day, you're at 80%, or, you're more than that. It's just trying to find that equilibrium, kind of being like, I've got you with this. And I always say, someone said to me recently, they were like, just do what you do every day, but today just make it a bit better. And I was just like, that really stuck with me. I was just like, because it is like, if you could, even if it's like a tiny percent, just be a little bit better every day. And I think, like you said, you kind of, with sport, you're on that journey to sort of peak performance as well.
Completely, yeah.
So will you share with us 3 things that you always prioritise in your day when you are leading your team?
Belu sparkling water.
Hydration is key.
No, but I actually thought to myself, and I was like, oh, surely I can't really say that, but coffee, chocolate, wine.
Yeah, I love that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
resonate
feel like
with all of that.
There's a strong synergy happening here right now.
I feel like I should give much more meaningful things than that, but almost that is how I would sandwich my day.
Yeah, I love
Coffee in the
that.
morning, chocolate throughout, glass of wine at the end, and that sets me in good stead generally. I want to give you much healthier things than that. but
5 a.m. wake up.
Yeah, but often that is the reality
Yeah.
of it. Yeah, but I could tell you going for a run out in nature.
You are a runner, aren't you?
I am.
You're a marathon runner as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Charlotte's like
I would struggle to run to embankment right now,
did, yeah.
but I am.
I ran last year, and it
Did
was.
you do London Marathon?
I did, yeah. I won't be
fantastic.
doing it again.
No,
It
good
was.
for you.
It was quite the journey, but
It's amazing though, hey?
yeah, very emotional
Yeah,
day, really.
exactly. No, the supporters and the spectators.
I
Yeah,
think
it's
so.
amazing.
Feels like the best of the city, I
Yeah,
think.
I agree.
Yeah.
Something to tick off. You done one yet, Anna?
No, but I've
Next year.
well, yeah, maybe. But I signed, like, obviously, don't judge me this. I signed up to do a high rocks, which I know is slightly insufferable.
Oh, wow.
But because I've told too many people about it, now I actually have to do it.
So where were you doing it?
Doing it in Malaga,
Oh,
even more insufferable going on the high rocks holiday. So I fully understand, like, I'm fulfilling a stereotype. But I never, like, I only really got into the gym, as we've spoken, but like a year and a bit ago. And just that also changed my mindset in terms of like my focus on my leadership. And like you said, sports is so important, I think, to there's so many strong links to people that play sport to success as well. I'm not saying it's just that, but I just think it's just a wonderful thing. So yeah, I thought I'd really fulfill my stereotype and go do a high rocks, and then maybe the marathon at some point. But
We'll be cheering you on.
Thank you.
Exactly.
With
We're
a glass
there.
of rosé from somewhere where we're not running.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly. No, for sure.
Amazing. So, with that, Charlotte, may we ask you, what does serve with purpose mean to you?
Serve with purpose leads me back to my personal purpose, which is to be in a leadership role in a hotel where I show people that you can be yourself and that you can show up as you. And for me, that is sometimes quite more often than not walking through the colleague entrance in my leggings and my trainers before I put on my workwear and step through the doors. But that's okay. You are a person, and for so long I didn't see those role models. I saw somebody who always walked through the front entrance. They were always looked a certain way, wearing a certain thing, and I couldn't see myself in that role. So for me, it's about demonstrating to people that you can be you and you can still be successful, whatever you is, and demonstrating that this as a industry and as a career, that you can manage something else alongside it and also achieve great success. So for me, that's my purpose.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
Thank you.
It's just been incredible chatting with you.
Well, thank you. I've loved it. It's been really great. What a nice interlude. It's given me energy for the afternoon now.
And I think this will give a lot of people energy. And I think I always say, if you can see other people in the roles that you relate to, you know, in higher roles and stuff like this,
Visibility always.
it's such a big motivation. So I think you do that for a lot of people. And
Thank you.
obviously, I've known you for a while, and it's been such a pleasure. And so when I saw that you got this role, it was really, really amazing. So we can't wait to see what you do next, and
Thank you.
continue to be incredible.
I really appreciate it. And honestly, things like having conversations like this and everything, you know, you don't, you know, like all of us, and you don't know that you're necessarily on the right path, or you question your own confidence along the way, and am I doing things right? And but moments like this are things that affirm for you, like keep going, and at the end it will all work out right. So I appreciate the time you've given me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.